Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
and Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
It is mind-blowing.
And heartbreaking.
How many original scripts are written every year but are never made?
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts.
Movies made of paper.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
There's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and everybody's gonna spread the holiday cheer. It's Christmas. Oh, it's the best time of the year. Let's go fake reindeer, bring them to the mall.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So this was... Oh, God. All right, so this was your pick. So what I pulled from Wikipedia for this, because you and I both...
He's like dancing.
You and I both had an issue here. So what we watched was the 8th episode of the second season of Spongebob Squarepants, titled Christmas Who, but also known as the Patchy the Pirate Presents the Spongebob Squarepants Christmas Special.
But the SpongeBob SquarePants Christmas Special is also the name of a 2012 short film movie Christmas special that they did.
There is, when I type in SpongeBob on Paramount Plus, there are way too many things that come up.
Yeah, it's like typing in South Park at this point.
It was just a lot. I was like, I'm overwhelmed. This was the first double-length episode of the series, and it aired on Nickelodeon on December 7th, 2000.
Did not have to be double length.
No.
I'll tell you that much, because this was a brisk 20-something minutes.
Yep. Well,
with the Patchy the Pirate segments.
Well, what it means by double length is a normal 22-minute episode of SpongeBob SquarePants is 2 shorts.
That's true. Yeah.
So this is the first time that it was just one continuous story.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am curious. Let me start with this. Okay.
Yeah.
So my experience is that I've seen a handful of SpongeBob SquarePants episodes, and there are definitely the occasional moments that are undeniable for me, right? Like the Nosferatu flicking the light switch is so dumb that it's funny to me. The Sweet Victory song rips. But for the most part, I hate this show. I hate everything about this show. I think for me, the characters are a level of annoying that I just can't take. And keep in mind, like, this show came out when I was in 8th grade going into high school, so I kind of missed that window. And this, like, whereas I was 7
when this show premiered.
Whereas I missed, I missed Invader Zim, and that was because I didn't have cable at the time. Like, Invader Zim was like the cartoon on Nickelodeon that felt like it was made for high schoolers. Yep. SpongeBob SquarePants was definitively made for like the elementary school and middle school kids. In my mind, it's because it is just that, like, hey, here's SpongeBob. He's super fucking annoying and he has a really annoying voice. Here's Patrick. He's also really annoying and has an annoying voice. Here's Squidward. He's annoyed by these two characters, but he also has an annoying voice. Like, it's just like, it was a lot. It was a lot of overload for me, and I never got into it. But what was interesting was when I hit play on this episode, despite the fact that I have maybe seen like 8 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, I was having these weird flashbacks to watching this, like, muted. Like, this was definitely on at someone's house during a Christmas party when I was a kid, for sure. Because I was like, I was always on the upper tier of older kid. You know what I mean? Like, there were cousins that were older than me, but in the grand scheme of how many cousins I have, I'm way higher up on the older length of it. So like going to Christmas parties, there was always much younger kids like running around putting on stuff on TV. So I've definitely seen this. Where I think we are going to be divided is based on a text message you sent me.
I don't think so.
Because the
only
only
I
moments
was kind of being a little bit. It might have been a little bit of a bit too.
okay, the only moments of joy that I have watching this episode are the Patchy the Pirate segments. Yeah,
so I knew you would like that shit because you're super Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like
And
this
that's
is
what it
your
was.
fucking shit.
Yeah.
this is
Oh
your
my
shit.
God.
But I am shocked that you didn't find at least a little bit of the short or the
I
cartoon
wrote a
amusing.
few notes of stuff that I liked, but for the most part, like here's what I wrote. I wrote the pirate and this parrot puppet are so charming to me. I love the ongoing bit that his hook is constantly changing to different things. The letter from name and address withheld joke is so funny.
I love that all of your notes are from like maybe the 5 minutes of Patchy the Pirate. We
Oh my
got
God.
this entire
when,
thing.
when he pulls on the parrot, and then you see the puppeteer fall into frame.
Oh,
I laughed so hard. And I literally wrote, the puppeteer falling got such a big smile from me. Why do I feel like all of these good feelings are going to vanish as soon as this cartoon starts? And then we finally get to the cartoon, and I wrote, yep, still don't love this cartoon.
I'm so shocked. I just, it's, wow. I did not know that you were going to come to this like that.
Yeah, no, I told you. We're going to be split on this. I had a feeling.
Think you would, like, I don't want to use the term hate, but it does seem like you do not like this show at all.
I have never been charmed by SpongeBob.
Really?
Yeah.
So I was prime age when this was coming out. Like, I was 7 when it premiered.
Again, this is like if I tried to show you Pee-wee's Playhouse, which I watched as a 7-year-old, I'm sure your takeaway would be like, this is really fucking annoying. This guy just has an obnoxious voice and is running around screaming over and over again.
100%.
But that's like how anyone watching Pee-wee now would see Pee-wee is how I see SpongeBob of like,
I get that.
This guy just has an annoying voice. All of the circumstances are annoying. And I think there's also this like element of, I feel like SpongeBob, we're going to mention a person's name. I feel like SpongeBob reminds me of right around the Dan Schneider era of Nickelodeon and doesn't remind me of my era of Nickelodeon. And I don't know when it's going to come out on the Horror Movie Night feed, but on the Horror Movie Night Patreon, I released the interview that I had with the creator of Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was at Creature Feature Weekend. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that.
Yeah.
And he literally said, like, when Dan Schneider came in, they stopped being dangerous at Nickelodeon. He's like, they became dangerous in a much different way.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's phrasing.
But he was like, you know, like stuff like Are You Afraid of the Dark, Salute Your Shorts, Pete and Pete, like Ren and Stimpy and Rocco. They had
risks. They were taken.
Yeah, they were risky. They were edgy. They were like, this might actually piss off parents in a negative way, but like kids are gonna love it, so we're gonna go forward with it. And I feel like SpongeBob SquarePants was like that exact moment where Nickelodeon animation shifted away from that. It shifted away from like, whether you love it or hate it, there's something that's so interesting about like that Rugrats, Doug, Ren and Stimpy, Rocco's world where it's like the animation's kind of ugly and it's kind of amateur, and like Doug feels weirdly too sugary sweet and wholesome for a kid's cartoon, and like Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats and Rocco feel like weirdly too edgy for a kid's cartoon, and this feels just super safe down the middle. It's weird and like LOL random, but it's not dangerous to be watching.
I feel like SpongeBob towed the boundary there. Yeah. I feel like we were getting a switch kind of. This show premiered around the same time as Rocket Power came out and As Told by Ginger, and
that's what I mean. And I like I actually like Rocket Power. I like As Told by Ginger. I like later shows too, like the Fairly Odd Parents. I think is really fun. But there was just something about this, and I think it was one of the things also where it was so popular and it was so huge.
The SpongeBob was Minions before Minions. Like it was SpongeBob. And then came the Minions. Like that's what it become. It was SpongeBob was no longer a show. It was a proper, like, it's a franchise. He is fucking everywhere.
Yeah, there's 14 seasons of this show. Like,
and I would say I have probably seen every episode of the first 3. But I couldn't tell you what those first 3 seasons are. I just know I've seen pretty much everything that's early SpongeBob because I was a kid. I was growing up with it. But then you hit a point where I'm like, oh, well, later seasons of SpongeBob isn't good. It's just because I didn't grow up with it. Yeah. Like, it's goofy as hell. It always was goofy as hell. I will say there are bits that still make me laugh, and I think that's the nostalgic of it all. I don't know if the show was ever smart, but I do feel like it used to be smarter than it became.
So it says, so I'm looking at some stuff here. Yeah. As of, and I don't think that this is the case anymore, honestly, but it said as of 2019, it was the 5th longest running animated series of all time. Like, I think Bob's Burgers has probably surpassed it at this point. I think it's possible that Futurama has surpassed it at this point, but it's still pretty high up there with 14 seasons is a lot of fucking seasons.
Is it done?
I don't know.
It's still going? I feel like SpongeBob's still going.
Let me see.
Because I was going to say, Bob's Burgers was after SpongeBob, like 10 years after.
Well, I
SpongeBob.
think SpongeBob kept coming and going, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that it ran for... Yeah, it says release date is May 1st, 1999 to present, but I think it had, like, stops and starts throughout it.
That makes sense.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
and Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
It is mind-blowing
And heartbreaking.
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper.
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
Put down that smartphone and listen to me. I'm Matthew Milligan, professional musician and lifelong Weird Al fan. Each week, I'm joined by professional podcaster and close personal friend Matt Kelly to take a dive off the deep end into the vast career of pop culture icon Weird Al Yankovic on our show, Weird Algorithm. Along with some very special guests from the worlds of music and comedy, we tackle every song, every television appearance, and every bit of sketch comedy Al has produced in chronological order, covering the good old days of My Bologna and Eat It, the fun zone of tacky and white and nerdy, and everything in between. As we go, we're ranking the songs, albums, and music videos in the hopes of creating the ultimate guide to a career bigger than the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. So the next time you're having one of those days, stuck in a traffic jam, wondering why does this always happen to me, just kick off your sneakers and stick around for a while because we've got it all on Weird Algorithm. Available wherever you get your podcasts. And now you know. Was that enough references?
Hey, just to bring this back together, we have not said a single word about this episode of TV. Like,
that's not true. I've talked all about Patchy the Pirate.
No. I'm talking about the Christmas Who.
Yeah, let's talk about the Christmas Who. All right, so the Christmas Who, SpongeBob finds out about Christmas and Santa Claus through Sandy, who is the squirrel that lives in a terrarium under the water.
Yeah.
And she set up a Christmas tree. He thinks that her house has a fire in it. He runs in with a bucket of water to try to put out the fire, etc. She explains what Santa Claus is. SpongeBob tells everybody about Santa Claus. They all write letters to Santa. Everybody but Squidward, who thinks that this is stupid and all made up and fantasy because he's Squidward. Next morning they wake up. Santa, in fact, did not come to visit. Everybody hates SpongeBob. I actually really like the animation on the very sad SpongeBob SquarePants on Christmas morning.
Funny. The big eyes.
The big eyes and the long droopy
The
nose
long
all the way to
nose.
the
He's so sad.
That's really funny to me. I laughed at that. And then it is
we
sweet.
got him. We got one, ladies and gentlemen. We sold him.
And then SpongeBob gives Squidward a gift, and it's very sweet. He built it himself. It's a clarinet that plays songs when you press a button with tiny little Squidwards that pop out of the finger holes.
It's so adorable.
Very cute, and it reignites Squidward's desire to save Christmas. So he starts giving away all the things inside of his house to everybody so they believe in Santa. And then once he has completely scraped his house to being bare bones and empty, he sees Santa in the sky, and Santa's like, "Thank you for doing this, Squidward." You know, it'd be great as if Santa, like, I don't know, gifted Squidward back his possessions or something.
That's what I thought was coming. When
Yep.
he finds the note, and it's just Santa like, "Oh, hey.
Yeah,
oh,
I
hey."
wrote that. I said, the ridiculous Santa laughing is not charming me like these pirate segments. It's like...
It's not Santa almost falling out of his sleigh.
No, it's just like, what the fuck is happening? Why is this
I
still
think that
on?
was said a lot while watching SpongeBob.
Boy, was
By
it.
a lot of parents in the background.
Yeah, it's just like, what is
fuck is
happening? My sister definitely used to have one of the SpongeBob SquarePants soundtracks, but it
Yeah.
was like an EP. It had like 7 songs on it, and it's just like SpongeBob's face is the whole disc.
I vaguely remember this.
And I think she bought it because Sweet Victory was on it, because that song does fucking rules.
That episode rules.
Yeah, that's probably the episode I've seen the most of SpongeBob.
The owner of the white sedan, you left your lights on.
Like,
Love that shit.
I usually
I love SpongeBob.
I know you do, man. I usually have the Pluto 90s Nickelodeon channel on.
Yeah.
And when I click into, whenever I put it on and it's a night where it's all SpongeBob, it's always the Sweet Victory episode is on as part of that marathon. And then I promptly turn the television off and go, I'll put on something else.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to go to bat for SpongeBob. I don't care enough to go to bat for SpongeBob. But I will say, in the airing of the 300 or whatever episodes, or 200 or whatever episodes, there is a solid, like, 30 to 40 episodes in there that are pretty enjoyable and pretty fun. Now, I am not going to take the time to curate an episode list for you, because I do not give a fuck enough. Let me say that this is... again, another peek behind the curtain. This was a fallback choice because I wanted to do something else that we think will be better for later this year.
It's just a little too spooky for early June, is all I'm saying.
But this is I think this is a good summer pick. It's a good kickoff to the summer. We are in the 25 years of SpongeBob. It did premiere in 99. It fits with what we're doing. So
I love
if anybody has discovered this because you're like, I want to celebrate 25 years of SpongeBob, let me type into the iTunes search bar what's going on, and this stumbles upon, just know Dylan Lyles really likes SpongeBob and Matt Kelly sucks.
Kelly sucks. Look, but you know what? I genuinely think every Christmas I'll at least watch the first 3 minutes of the Patchy the Pirate bits.
I think you should, man.
Because that shit tickled me pink.
Now, I will say this didn't spark anything in me. I'm not now going to go start my SpongeBob watch through.
You don't know that yet.
That would be wild. Like,
holy shit. Well, buddy.
There's a lot of this shit.
Buddy.
It's everywhere.
Every time I podcast with you, it is a sweet, sweet victory.
Oh.
Oh, whoa, oh, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Happy holiday, have a great holiday, have a merry happy holiday.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
It is mind-blowing
And heartbreaking.
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper.
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.